How's the stash?
Glorious.
That's what I'm talking about.
Live from downtown Nashville, Tennessee.
This is StacheCast. Let's go!
Welcome to our ridiculous sports show.
Hello, everyone.
It's a frat party at a golf course.
That was one hell of an intro. I enjoyed every minute of that.
Come on, do you even want to win?
He's like running into a 12-story building.
You want to talk about a whooping on national television?
I'm not playing for the next 2 hours. Bring me some chicken.
StacheCast, baby. Here we go. This is StacheCast, presented by Nashville Stash from downtown Nashville, Tennessee. I couldn't be more excited about this week, guys. We have a very special guest joining us. We might get a little bit off the rails today, but we're all here for it. Stoked that you're here for it with us. Before I forget, this week's show is sponsored by Southern Collective Spirit Company right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Nice. Custom bourbon in a custom bottle. Go check them out at southerncollectivespiritco.com.
Ooh, is that who did the wedding stuff?
Same guys. Good.
Good plug.
So as always, I am joined by my fantastic crew, my ride or die, K Love, K Mars, whatever. We're back and forth. Is here with me. Welcome back, our guy Tweeter, Joe Hudson. Glad to have you back, buddy. Look forward to catching up. And
texting my boys going to Southern Collective next month, making sure they know about it.
That's going to be a blast when they come in town. We got to make sure we all link up when you come. By the way, remind me about that later. From Los Angeles, California, the Professor, Alex Alper, and a little bit later in the show, perhaps if we get lucky, it's been a rough night with the Motor City Kitties down at Progressive Field for our guy JJ. So we'll see if he can join the show a little bit later. If not, maybe he'll join the next time. But folks, we're joined today by a man who needs no introduction. He went off the cuff for his best man speech at our wedding and nailed it like a split hog. Betting is a family sport at his house. He recently had to cut a vacation short due to the fact that his wife couldn't make the bets that she wanted to make because of the app that they had used in that state.
True fact.
So one of the greatest humans on earth, Kevin Boyle, is here. Welcome to the show, Stud Muffin. Let's go. My God. How you doing, bud? Let's go. He's shooting. Let's get right into it.
It's Monday. What do I have?
It's Monday. I know you got something on the table. There's NBA playoffs going on, NHL. What are you playing right now?
We got that going on.
Here we
Miami, I have Jimmy Butler needing 35 points, rebounds, assists. I think he's got he's need to chip away 7 or so. Still looking promising with the fourth quarter.
He's got 32 so far.
I love the stats. Yeah, I was worried about having to you know me in technology, obviously, as the show got running. And then I need Randall and Brunson, 30 apiece, par, aka points, rebounds, assists.
Randall's got it, and so does Brunt. Both of them just hit it. They both have 30 exactly right now.
So are we teasing that line down because you can't find that just on any run of the mill. You gotta start working some wires, moving some lines, right?
The professor will probably debate this till he's blue in the face, but I am just a absolute pure SPG, single game parlay, and SPG X, which is multi-game single parlays. So
let's talk about what you got. Let's plug a platform right now. Who are you banging these out with? Because there's only one platform that you can do all of this type of movement, right?
Dude, I am DK all the way. I was a little upset that they didn't have the Kentucky Derby, even though I don't know shit about you know what when it comes to the ponies. I just don't.
Right.
But
right.
I'm gonna watch an event. I'm gonna watch an event.
The professor knows ponies. The professor knows ponies. The professor knows ponies, man.
I got a story for you about the ponies when we're ready. But go on.
I mean, we can interject ponies right now, or I can just give you the complete breakdown of what Nick was saying earlier that we left. We were in Florida for 2 weeks.
You mean you and your wife?
Right? Yeah,
wife.
My wife and I, Lisa, my better half,
Lisa, shout out.
It was rough, and I was basically Venmoing a buddy of mine that you played ball with, Stu Meinhardt. Shout out to Stu and the MTSU Blue Raiders.
Yeah. alma mater. Let's
and
go.
he was just logging my bets for me. I would screenshot the bets and send them on in. I was like, listen, I understand that you have kids and things of that nature, so I won't like expect the quick turnaround. If you don't get it in, it's fine. But I got to have at least a couple bangers because wife's going to go to bed at 9. What am I going to do?
You're just going to sit there and watch. You can't just sit there and watch a game for the sake of watching it. That's
Absolutely
times,
not.
man.
It was brutal. And so my wife was watching this happen while we were on vacation. And by Tuesday of the next week, she was like, I'm going to lose my mind. I've got to get home. I've got to place a bet. And I was like, that's possibly one of the most electric things I've ever heard come from your mouth is I'm ready to get home and let's bang this one out.
Yeah.
And as soon she's so excited, she was lady bricked up crossing over the border. She took a picture. She took a picture of the sign and was like, "Welcome back to Betting Land," and just mass texting everybody. And
just blasting.
I'm sure her friends are like, "What?"
Yeah.
And all of my buddies are like,
"Yeah, represent right."
That's my girl.
Her friends are like,
"That's my girl." Yeah.
That's
dude. You don't
mess with you don't come between a woman and her betting app.
Dude, my wife came between me and $10,000 on FanDuel one time. Zach Randolph, I got an alert that he was not playing that night. And I was on a date and I was like, it's 7:29 or whatever time it is. I'm like, I got to pull over real quick. I got to update my lineup. And she just gave me a bunch of shit. She was like, no, that's dumb. Just keep driving. She's like, I'm not doing that. And then turns out I would have like smoked the tournament by like 6 points and won 10 grand. And so I showed her that and never to be repeated again. But
learn the hard way.
Yeah. Learn that one the hard way.
It's good. I mean, we could probably do an entire episode on betting escapades and stories from my wife.
Let's do it.
I mean,
yeah.
Nick has actually seen this stuff in action in Vegas at a craps table.
Yeah.
It's like
she knows
watching
everybody by name. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's like
you've got a craps table in your house. You have a craps table in your house.
Yeah.
Like you are on another level of incredible, and you're not poor.
Thanks, Alex.
But let's be honest about it. Like the way that it got there is a better story than the fact that it's theirs. The fact that it got there is because Boyle drug his ass on getting a pool table for long enough that Lisa said, "You know what? Bump that. I'm getting what I want. We're getting the craps table." Boom, and then it's just there. Bam. There you go.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's the way that goes. But Boyle, we are stoked that you're here. Thank you for being here. Obviously, I know that you got to keep up with the NBA bets and all the things that are going on. But speaking of the NBA,
I feel like Tweeter's going to get me going on that. He seems to be a stat prop kind of guy.
I nerd out a little bit, but not like that guy. Not like Alex. Alex is
nobody knows it like Alex.
Joe's your football guy though. You go fantasy football, you want somebody to put in that's not going to go off or who's going to play in 3 weeks. Really, which
is useful like 4 months a year. That's great.
Yeah, there you go. He's the guy though. He's the guy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he only supports teams that suck. We love that about him.
Stuck
but
now.
We feel for him
right now, bud. They
there
suck
it is.
Now.
Always the future.
So
Money
thank you,
doesn't
Alex.
sleep. That's
thank you,
facts.
Alex, for the segue. The Commanders, being you're representing tonight, we're very excited. Snyder's selling. Everybody seems to be going. JJ told us last week he gets walking around the city. Even the security guards like, "Hey, Snyder's selling." You know, big deal. Everybody's stoked about it. The latest news to come out of the Commanders camp is some sort of Irsay is pointing the finger at some sort of collusion about Andrew Luck. Is that not the funniest thing in the world? Like they called him and like, "Hey man, you sure you don't want to play football anymore?" And he was like, "Yep, pretty sure." And they're like, "Cool." And Irsay, likey that. He came out of the woodworks. And
I don't think he even did it. I don't even think they did that. They backpedaled on their statement saying that they called him. Then they were like, they inquired about his availability.
Right, dumb. Which is calling and saying, "Hey, are you going to play anymore?"
Yeah, it was just dumb.
That's it. It's just an inquisition. That's fine. But apparently
that's
on a
tampering.
Bender.
He was on a
now,
bender,
what if what if Luck would have been like, maybe for the right dollars, maybe for the right situation? What if he answers the question differently? Does Irsay have a stance to stay? Because obviously, if he comes back, they own his rights, right? That's the way that works, right? Okay.
Yep.
So he comes back. There's definitely collusion there. Obviously, that's completely hypothetical. It's definitely not going to happen.
They owe us
Andrew
one,
Luck
dude. We took Wentz off their hand for $28.5 million, man. We did them a huge favor. They owe us one at this point. That's trash.
But it's like, I'm sorry, from a news cycle about Andrew Luck, we haven't talked about Andrew Luck in, I don't know, 5 years. Like his name just doesn't even come up. He's also one of the very few sports athletes that doesn't do interviews, doesn't do anything afterwards. He's an awesome dude. He went back and worked for his college. Yeah. He's just dead. ESPN, writer for ESPN, literally followed the guy around for like a month and wrote this giant thing that was like cover of ESPN.com sponsor us for like a week. So it's not like they even asked in the article, like, oh, would you be willing to come back? And he's like, no, this is what I'm doing. And this is the future, blah, blah, blah. It's like a 10,000 word essay that they could have taken their time to read this thing to be like, we know what's going on with this man. Like he literally said it to the camera.
Yeah. Everybody knows that. Andrew, it's just funny that like, you can't that you can't get away from the bullshit that people are like looking trying to draw up the drama. They're like making it up. It's like it's like the rivalry conversation. Like they go back and forth, like making up these rivalries, and they can come up with these animations and these graphics to throw up there to try to create rivalries between teams that don't really exist. Like Mookie Betts was on Sunday Night Baseball last night talking about rivalries between East Coast, West Coast. He was like, Yankees Red Sox is beyond. It's like you can't Dodgers in anybody isn't close to Red Sox Yankees. Like last night they were trying to put like the Padres and the Dodgers like it's some big rivalry, and I'm like, rivalries. Both teams got to win before it's a rivalry. You can't, if it's one-sided isn't a rivalry. That's big brother, little brother. That's just, sibling rivalry. That's not real rivalry, right? But it got me thinking.
Playlist.
Huh?
Tupac.
Yeah.
Or Dr. Dre. I wonder who's on Mookie's little iPod.
Well, they were both California guys. I think you really meant to go to Biggie and Tupac, East Coast, West Coast.
Well, there you go. That's like an example because you would never have Dre and Tupac as a rivalry, but somebody might try to spin that up as though that once was a thing. Obviously, it wasn't.
Touche.
Right.
Well, the Caucasian ability of my skin is just not gonna do well with the rapping sensations that they were. So I guess I'll leave that one in the bag and I'll stick to what I know. So proceed.
Get it.
iPod?
I had an iPod.
Hey,
remember the
dial? Chris, you remember how long it took me to get on this actual show with audio? Yes, I called it an iPod.
We did have a few technical difficulties, nothing major. He's not giving himself enough credit. But one of the things, all right, so here's the point you bring up, Joe, is it's almost like it's created, right? So what are the rivalries that you feel like are legit that have been like for real rivalries? They could be any sport, any level, but just a legitimate rivalry compared to the ones that I feel like are being imposed upon us and then to create false hype over regular season matchups, really. Give me an example. Good real rivalry versus fake.
UNC Duke.
UNC
Boston
Duke
Lakers.
being a real rivalry. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. USC UCLA real rivalry. So let's go back to the East Coast. Red Sox Yankees real rivalry.
Washington and Dallas,
Celtics,
I'll tell you, is
Lakers.
rivalry.
Washington Redskins Cowboys is a real rivalry.
Yeah, if we go 2-15, but we win both of those games, it's not a lost season.
Right.
It's really not.
That's okay. So let's talk about there. As of late, when you talk about creating a new rivalry, right? Because it's got to start somewhere. It's not always divisional. It's not always regional. But does, for example, the Astros
That's what I was thinking,
the
the Astros.
Dodgers, does the Astros create a rivalry somewhere outside of their, because they've been winning, right? Now you've got who's the team that they're battling against to win? Are they
Everyone
else?
Everyone
but you can't
wants
have
to,
but you can't
everyone
have a
hates them,
rivalry
though.
with everybody else.
But everyone wants to beat them because of the last few years, whether they were winning or because
but
they're
everybody
scandals.
wants to beat the Yankees too, but it doesn't make the Rays and the Yankees a rivalry. They're just in the same division.
I don't think
Just because the Rays are good this year doesn't mean that they all of a sudden have a rivalry with somebody else.
No.
They've always been right there at it, but it's not a rivalry. It's the division matchup that's maybe close, right? It's like,
I don't think they're really
Alabama and UT, Alabama and Auburn, real rivalries. You got there's some SEC rivalries, but I'll tell you this, Ohio State, Michigan, real rivalry. You know what I mean? But there's some of these things right now. I feel like in the media, they're just like tossing out there. What were they talking about earlier? There's another one that they were tossing out there. It was in basketball. And it was because of the 2020 matchups could recreate themselves, I guess, in the NBA with the Nuggets and the Lakers and the Heat and the
all the 4 teams that were in the bubble.
Yeah, right. All the 4 bubble teams
they're winning their series
right.
or whatever.
Right. So they were trying to create that. Okay, is this like are the Lakers and the Warriors are not a rivalry just because LeBron and Steph are. You know what I mean? Like
But Lakers and Celtics used to be, and now you've got Lakers Clippers maybe, but the Clippers never win.
No, but I still think if the Lakers and the Celtics were to go meet up in a finals, it would rip the top off of that
there's
rivalry
history
conversation
there.
again.
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
Yeah.
Temporary rivalries have a place, I think. You've got the Bulls and the Pistons and then the Bulls and the Knicks, right? Now, those aren't rivalries that last still, but for like 10 to 15 years, those were very important themes in sports. If you got Knicks and Pacers, like who gives a shit about the Knicks and Pacers? But Reggie Miller showing up to choke with Spike Lee, that got a lot of people hating each other for years. People were caring about Rick Smits versus Anthony Davis.
All right. So that's another good question. Does a rivalry have to be sustained for a long period of time to count as a rivalry?
I think you got to tear it out. Can't hear her at all.
I know.
Is that better?
Nope.
Yeah, I want to hear what K Mars has to say about it, honestly.
Got to turn the on button on. Love it.
Especially when we're talking about basketball, just like I'm sure her footwork was electric when she played. And I just wanted her to weigh in on some of the stuff that's happening right now.
Can you hear me now?
Much better. Yeah. You're good.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, my footwork was impeccable.
Still is.
Elite. I think they would say elite.
Elite, electric, in between tearing ACLs. No, but what I was going to say was I was watching today earlier, and it was with Justin Fields and Jordan Love that they were trying to strike up the rivalry between Chicago Bears and then the Green Bay Packers. So, I mean, I know obviously some of that already exists.
That's a good one.
These are new quarterbacks, and so they're the media was spinning up as literally they said a new rivalry, and that was the term that they used to describe it. So,
but in that situation, I could see is there an opportunity to rekindle a rivalry, because the Bears Packers has been a rivalry for a while, and Aaron Rodgers has been very vocal about being daddy in that relationship for since he's been in Green Bay.
Well, has that been a rivalry, like you said, if only one team is really winning?
I would say the biggest rivalry in Green Bay is Aaron Rodgers versus the Green Bay Packers.
It is now.
Yeah, it was.
But the amount of I've been to a Green Bay Packers Bears game in Lambeau, the amount of hate for one team on both sides is exactly the same. They effing hate each other. No matter what. And Green Bay could be playing the Denver Broncos, but it's like going to a USC game. We still talk shit to UCLA no matter who we're playing. And the same thing is true at Green Bay, because this is a rivalry that's gone on for, 50, 60 years. So you can have the ones that last for a long time. You can have your in-state or your regional matchup, your Texas A&M, things to that degree. Or even if you had to get one for the Astros, I guess it would be the Rangers because they play a couple hundred miles apart, or Yankees, Mets, that type of thing. And you're going to start seeing that more in baseball now that you have to play every team. But if you're having a rivalry, it's got to have a couple things. One, it's got to have history. It probably is something regional. But 3, it could be just some bad blood, like Joe's talking about. Like you play the same team a couple years in the finals, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're going back to this.
Mhm.
So
Well-
I think it's tiered. It depends on where it is. And from a Dodger perspective, the Padres beat the Dodgers for the first time in the playoffs this last year. And every time before that, the Dodgers have just crushed
Waxed
the Padres.
them. Yep.
Waxed them. So now the Padres are like, they're trying to make it a rivalry, and the Dodgers are like, our rivalry's the Giants. But it's trending, right? It's trending,
Yes.
and it's regional. So you've met two of the three scenarios necessary.
I think
Right.
it depends
Is it
too
a-
on your players too. Like you can have certain players that bring that heat too. So like
sure.
when Peyton Manning was playing and Tom Brady, those two, when they would play, I mean, it was a huge rival game. And whether or not those two teams ever had, a history together, it's because it was Tom Brady against Peyton Manning,
Mhm.
two of the greatest quarterbacks of
Truth.
all time. So, I got to witness that, but I think it takes into account where there can be new ones or temporary ones just based on the level of the players.
I agree. The
See, I
players-
think the fan base kind of also plays into it, honestly, and I can't
Big
resist
time.
talking about it, especially with Nick wearing that breathtaking Mariners jersey. It better have Griffey on the back. If it doesn't, it's better be Jay Buhner.
Oh, please. Of course it does. Look
Thank
at that
you,
butte.
goodness. All right. Well, I'm gonna sum
That was
this
nice.
one up and bring it all the way around campus. So your boy KB used to live just a little bit outside of New York. Grew up in a Yankees fan because my dad is from Who Cares, Indiana. And so the only team on there was the Yankees and the Cardinals mainstream. So fast forward, growing up baseball, growing up a Yankees guy, dad takes me to a Yankees Mariners game. Obviously, I'm a young kid. Griffey's got the sweetest swing that's ever possibly been at the plate. I actually tried to become left-handed just to be able to swing.
Same.
left-
Absolutely.
It was-
same.
it was-
Did the same
It
thing.
was a
Yeah.
failed mission. Nick knows that.
Yeah, and went back to the right. Let's
Yep.
not gloss over the fact that this
And-
dude was a middle infielder extraordinaire. Great. This chair needs some WD-40. But K Boyle could play some baseball now. Back to you.
Hey, and I'm going to sum it all back to fan hate, rivalry, not really division, but I think fan base has to be part of the professor's 3-finger approach. I think it needs to be the 4th finger in there because of this electric story that I'll tell. My dad takes me to a Yankees game. I'm 12, probably not even 12. I'm probably 10, and I'm wearing a Griffey jersey. And we are in Yankee Stadium, and the Mariners just absolutely give it to them. And on the way out of the stadium, a grown man squirted me with mustard because I was wearing a Griffey jersey. And that was possibly the only time I've ever seen my old man lose it in public on somebody. And I cried like a little baby. Let's be honest. I was
You were 10, of course you did.
Oh my God. But I think circling all of those facts back, it comes down to the fan base kind of makes the rivalry because, I mean, your boy Tweeter right here, if I got Lisa off this couch right here and she saw that hat, she'd lose her ever-loving mind.
Yeah, big Cowboys fan.
He's wearing
on that cap.
a Commander's hat.
Somebody has to.
Yeah,
Somebody's got to do it around here. Well, you
There it
mentioned
is.
she's talking about Manning versus Brady. Like you can't forget about Sampras and Agassi, and then Federer and Djokovic, or obviously, there's Nadal, and then you've got Tiger
call.
and anybody, Tiger and Phil,
Tiger
maybe?
and Phil for a
Tiger
while.
and
You know
Phil
what I'm
for a
saying?
while,
So
yeah.
there's like
Tiger and Rory for a while.
those
Tiger
have
versus the
lasted for
world.
enough- basically
Tiger
Tiger
and pills for a while.
yeah.
Tiger and golf clubs to the face for a while.
Tiger and
Oh.
Fidelity.
Tiger
Tiger
and Genesis
and
S80s
suspect.
for a while.
Jury's still out on
Yes.
those. He's still losing those.
Tiger and sharp turns in the Palisades. It's a whole thing.
Tiger and Perkins and their excellent brunch / late night breakfast.
Yeah,
Sponsor us.
Tiger's had a lot of rivals. Apparently, it's rough.
Yeah, a lot of
It's hard to
You don't really
be
see
on
it in
top,
boxing,
you
man.
guys.
You don't
hard
really
to be
see
on
it in
Me and
boxing.
apparent.
'Cause they only,
you know,
they
it's
only
kind of
go
like
to the
you
fight
got-
a couple times.
You got Holyfield and Lennox Lewis there for a while. You
There
had
you
like
go.
Holyfield and Tyson for a
Tyson.
while.
Yeah. You had Ali
Yeah.
and Frazier.
Is that it? Ali Frazier.
You even had what's his face? Money Mayweather and Pacquiao, but a lot of these
Yeah.
were like media created, right? Like
Yeah, it's
boxing's a little different.
Just not a rivalry because
Promotion.
like De La Hoya and what's his name, they fought like 3 or 4 times. That was a rivalry, right?
Happy Gilmore and Shooter McGavin.
That
There
was
it
a
is.
rivalry.
No greater
Big time.
rivalry in
is.
Big
sports.
time.
Boom, boom.
Touche.
Love it.
Well played.
So I guess the point, to circle it all up is that we believe that rivalries can be come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. It can be recency bias rivalries. It can be fan base driven rivalries. It can be star player driven rivalries. It can be regional, divisional. It can be world. You know, we met them in the playoffs. But I think that, you know, the real rivalries, the one that there's real hate there's real bad blood, the getting mustard squirted on you. You know, that's just New Yorkers being shitty fans. That's not really a rivalry. But like if you were to show, you know, Red Sox, Yankees, like there's Yankee fans showing up to Red Sox games that the Yankees aren't playing at just to heckle the Sox just because they hate them.
Dude, don't even get me started on that topic. I will lose it. Nothing bothers me more than being in a stadium of a professional sport when there is a jersey that is not in the fucking stadium.
We talked about this last week. We said, what's the deal? And that was my question. What's the deal with the guy that shows up to a Guardians Red Sox game in a Green Bay Packers jersey or whatever the hell?
I'm going to a sporting event. I got to put on my sports ball gear.
Yeah. I got to put on sports.
I hope laundry is a problem at that guy's house because it just doesn't make sense. I mean, the worst place to possibly see it in every place that I've ever been is Nissan Stadium when the Titans play. Cause it's like, hey man, this guy's going hard for Roethlisberger. And I'm like, for what?
Well, but that's why
we don't play them for 4 more weeks.
We don't even play them this year. But it's like Nashville's become such a melting pot of fuckery that there's so many people around that they just go to the game and they just yay sports. It's like it's football Sunday. I'm repping the Chargers. Well, guess what, buddy? You're on the wrong coast for that. They don't play for 3 more hours, and they don't even play anybody in the AFC South. You're fucking up on 3 levels. Get it
big
together.
Facts. And then they usually go like 5 or 6 rows down below me, and I'm like, you have better fucking seats, and you're waiting for the 3:25 game. This thing kicked off at noon, son. What are we doing?
Yeah. Don't
understand. The guy that goes to a Mexican restaurant and gets a hamburger.
Yeah.
Get out of here, dude.
Can I get the chicken tenders, please?
What are you
little
doing
honey
here?
mustard on the sauce. Jose and Jose B are like, have no honey mustard in here, bud. You can get salsa and cheese dip. That's what you're dipping your chicken tenders in.
Yep.
Hey man.
Not happening. At any rate. We talked about that last week. Big
missed it by 1 week.
Yeah, missed it by 1 week.
I think you were actually invited. Never mind. Go on.
Yeah, you were invited. And you decided you needed another week to get your headspace right. It's okay. I appreciate
only way
you
I got
taking
invited.
We're starting a
I was
rivalry.
getting the 200 signature petition at their freaking wedding during
true.
A shameless plug in a best man speech.
Yeah, it worked though. You took the platform that you had, and you did it.
Smart.
So Boyle,
Thanks, Kristen.
Boyle, not only is Boyle a betting extraordinaire, good, bad, or ugly, he loves to do it. Used to have super soft hands up the middle. Great at middle infielder.
That head nod.
Always take that when I say that an athlete has good hands. That it means that it means
the middle. I'm like, hey.
It doesn't mean that he was grabbing my bag with him. It means that a double play ball up the middle. Boyle is.
That's just where my brain goes. I can't help it.
Hey, well, you can't. You
Slow,
you will have that on the big jobs.
Slow as molasses, but got a good first step.
But you've got those saucy, crafty old man YMCA basketball moves, and the guy's got a jumper on him. So we used to play a lot of lunchtime basketball at the gym, And Boyle's got a little bit more game than you would believe. I don't know that if you still do. I don't know if
His
the
golf
bourbon's
game
taken
is
over.
on point, but he always looks like he's just played 18 holes. Did you play this morning?
I did not.
He does look
No,
like
he
he
is-
played golf
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, he is very country club chic on the regular for sure.
All the
That's his
time.
vibe.
That is his vibe.
I know.
Yeah.
I know who I am. I am
Stay
more
in your
country
lane.
club than I am blue club, or I mean
for you,
blue
man.
collar. Yeah,
More
I
country
just-
club
I
than
just-
country.
I'm not very blue club either. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I am not blue collar at all. My wife constantly gives me a riot when she's like, "Hey, I think we can do this." I'm like, "Nah, I think we should hire somebody." Yeah, I don't mess with water. I don't mess with electric. I mean, like, it seems like a mess on the floor, or just absolute a good way to spend a day.
Yeah.
So
And there's
Yeah.
likelihood of you messing it up further is high.
incredible.
Yeah.
Will I take some, advice from somebody that knows what they're doing? Absolutely. I would love to learn those things, but I'm not going to YouTube it and then be like, you know what? I'm going to change this toilet out. No, that's
Yeah.
not happening.
Not happening.
I was at
'Cause you're
my
not-
I know it's-
yeah.
I was at my brother-in-law's house and we changed all the receptacles in the electric sockets. And he comes by me after like the 15th one, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, why is this so labor intensive? I'm just sitting on the floor unscrewing this stuff. And he was killer on the back. And he comes by and he was like, so now that you know how to do it, man, are you going to change all the ones out of your house? And I was like, honestly, dude,
No.
I've literally never noticed, like, ever. I would never do it. And I swear to God, as soon as I got back, I just started noticing they're all different colors. And I was like, fuck, this is terrible.
Now you
Like,
wanna
now I
fix
can go
it.
buy these receptacles. Hate it.
I don't even know
Dude.
what a receptacle is.
You don't know what a receptacle is?
So like when you take the cover off the outlets, it comes
that.
as a box and you have to unscrew it from the wires. You have to literally you have to take the wires out. I said I would never mess with electricity. And there was one time he was like, I was like, is the power off? He said, yeah, it was not off. Totally not off.
No. So like,
Shocking.
yeah.
Of all your time on the basketball court,
That's good,
no one
Alex.
has ever told you to put it in the receptacle.
Nope.
Well, you'll have that. She played at Franklin,
Well-
so give her that. So, all right, because I bring up the basketball because I want to
The
ask.
circle.
I want to ask you this.
No,
The-
they didn't see you. They don't care about you.
The thought process behind timeouts. I want to put our coach hat on for a second, and think about this. In basketball, the timeout at the end of the game, right? Put on his beer hat. That's what I'm talking about. That's Coach Beer, Coach Lager. So basketball, end of the game, you get a lot of timeouts to set up an out of bounds play, right? It's regardless of whether there's 5, 10, 12 seconds left. Team comes down, takes the lead, ties the game, whatever the case may be. The example I'll use is last night, the Celtics are playing the 76ers. James Harden bangs a 3 out of the corner, takes the lead by 2. That's his second game winner, by the way. Let's not lose sight of that. But he bangs a 3. They go up by 2. Missoula's got 14 seconds on the clock and plenty of timeouts. They come across the half court line, give up an opportunity at what I thought was a decent shot, pass it off for what they were trying to get as a better shot. Did the extra pass. Too much time went off the clock. The ball goes in, but time is expired and they lose. What's your strategy, Boyle? Are you using timeouts at that spot? Or are you letting your guys go? Are you letting them take that momentum that maybe they've got and just make a play? What are you doing?
I mean, I'm really glad you asked me this question because I think you let the boys play because they're professional athletes. They should be ready for the moment. Outside of getting a play drawn up for a specific type of bucket, all they needed was a bucket to win. They should be able to have a pocket play this is our go-to with 14 seconds. We've had practice for 6 months. Like, let's go ahead and run the, whatever great.
Run play number 1, run Tatum to the right,
Yeah.
or Tatum to the left. Like,
Exactly.
set the ball screen at the top, run the play to the rim. I hear you on that. I will hold serve until I hear what Joe and Alex have to say.
Yeah. No.
I think there's different factors. Like I used to coach on a varsity team for 2 years after I got out of college, and we had some really good ballers, and they were just free spirited knucklehead. Honestly, like you could draw great plays, and it doesn't mean they're going to run it. But I think in this situation, you have to also know, like, okay, who is on the defense right now? And do we like the group that we're going against? And do we feel like we have the advantage in transition against this particular group? Or would I prefer, hopefully, for them to overthink it and maybe sub someone else out? And we have a special, do I have an out of bounds play, for example, that is better and easier to execute versus a in transition play, especially against this particular defense right after a momentum switch like that? So there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Absolutely.
That
right.
I personally think that sometimes that absolutely is like, I would rather not call a timeout and rather just say, hey, listen, guys,
Okay.
you know what the goal is. You got 14 seconds. Go down there. We're one of the best teams in the league. We're the number 2 in the
Right.
East. Let's go down there and knock it out. This is a defensive team, though, that they're going against. It's got arguably, one of the top defenders in the league.
Right.
I don't know. I think that he made probably a call that he feels fine with. It didn't work out, but in that moment, he probably felt like he had the right matchups.
What about you, Mars?
I'm really torn. I think it does depend on situation by situation, but I agree with both of you on that, they are professional athletes, and, being able to do, that's what they're prepared for, those moments at that level of, do or die, essentially, for lack of a better phrase. But I think, too, it's something you talk about as you get closer to game time, like towards the end of the game, like you're talking about what you're going to be doing and kind of what your angle is, what your play is. As you get closer and time is winding down, you kind of know it before that moment happens too, in the sense of, okay, what are we going to do in this type of scenario? So I kind of think you let them play, but I can kind of see it the other way too, of figuring out your game plan
Wishy-washy.
with who's on.
Wishy-washy.
Ramifications of the game, I guess, is where I'll draw the line. They before they lose, they're up 2-1. They need to go try and win the game to go 3-1. If not, it's 2-2 and it's going back to Boston. Yeah, it's going back to Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're just trying to sneak one in Philly, and Harden just happens to better them and just drop that bucket. And, I don't think there's a good or a bad call there. I mean, I ain't crucifying anybody for calling timeout or not calling timeout. I think it comes down to game ramifications. It's, if that's game 7, maybe you regroup. Maybe if you're not up 2-1 and you're down 1-2, then you're calling a timeout because you really need that.
That's a good point.
That's
a good point.
to
Alex,
equal the playing field.
Alex, what do you
Professor,
think?
school me.
Professor, school me. Yeah.
I mean,
Hit me with some truth.
unfortunately, it's NBA basketball, which I consider the worst of all the sports. And there's so many damn clock stoppages now, and review this, and I gotta hit somebody out of bounds and whatever. So because there was a stoppage in play literally 50 seconds before for a 2.5-minute TV timeout, I'm sure they knew what they were going to do before that happened. Like, if he hits a shot, here's the scenario. But yeah, I think I agree with all you guys. I think it comes down to defensive matchups. I think it comes down to where you are in the game. Obviously, every game you want to win, no matter where you are. And if you have a chance to win, go for it. But yeah, there's no right answer here, obviously. That guy missed the shot. He, 0.1 seconds. Like, if they would have done it slightly different, 0.1 seconds different,
Right.
they win the game, and then it's a great call. So
I think you're all hitting on some really interesting points, and ultimately I agree with you in that I would let them play in the situation where you like the defensive matchup. You've already decided, hey, in the event we come down to this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons, but I think it's a little bit more surgical than that from Missoula's standpoint. I think that there's if I call the timeout, they can't sub in.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact of the matter is that even if I call the timeout, we've got to toss the ball in from side out, and I'm trying to get the ball back to my playmaker at the top of the key. If Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown have the ball at the top of the key, then I've already effectively checked those two boxes. I got the ball inbounds to my best player in the spot that I want them to have it. and I didn't have to risk a turnover or risk them throwing the ball away or any kind of, things that can happen on inbound. Secondly, you get the defense on their heels, kind of that, are they going to call a timeout? What are they going to do? Oh shit, they're going. Oh shit, they're going. Now I've got to start playing defense without giving them the defense the time to regroup. I think it's more of that. If I like the defense, I'm going to not call the timeout so that I don't give Doc the opportunity to balance the troops, maybe bring in somebody else that maybe rim protection, whatever the case may be. I don't think that it was a throwaway call or anything like that. Ultimately, I think that the play was probably called for Tatum or Brown to go to the basket and tie the game and extend it before it was for Marcus Smart to get a last second Hail Mary three that, he wasn't supposed to get that shot. You could tell that by how late he got.
He wasn't
supposed to get that shot. So the fact that he got it and hit it was cool for a second, but he, at the end of the day, I agree with Boyle that if it's game 7, you probably don't make that call. You probably call the timeout and run the risk of saying, hey, let them, you probably even call 2 timeouts. You probably even call the first one, see what they're set up in, and then you call another one. Like there's all types of different scenarios if your season's on the line. But knowing that you have the opportunity to just snag one and bang out of there, is worth that risk. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that same game parlay where you're like, I don't know if this guy's going to get that 7th rebound, but I'm going to risk it because I just won 2 more. I'm playing with house money. Right. So I feel like Boston was that attitude a little bit differently, but I just thought that was a cool conversation just to kind of think about if we were coaching, what would we do? And I think we're all pretty much risk takers, which is what I would assess from all those answers. But I want to transition from East Coast to West Coast. Lakers playing the Warriors. Lakers are up 2-1. Statistically, 73% in a game 7, you win game 3, you go on to win the series. Steve Kerr, however, and the Warriors have won 5 out of 6 of the last series in which they were down 2-1. What do we think? Who do we think is the better team? With Anthony Davis playing the good game, bad game style, and LeBron being 38, and it's really a 2-man show. You can see Jokic on the bench, like it's just 2 of them out there. Like, what are we doing? But D'Lo stepped up, Russell stepped up.
None of those games are even watchable. Like every game is 25 points in both directions. Like I would watch Steph Curry, play solitaire because that man's entertaining and completely changed the game. But like none of those games are watchable. Like it's not close. It's boring. Like I don't know how you all watch the NBA. It sucks.
Well, it's
Damn it, Alex.
You make a strong point because those games are tough to watch. But I'll tell you this: the Nuggets Sun series has been interesting to watch. Now, a little bit of extra sideline,
because there's fights like
festivities. Hockey. Right. Jokic is
also
Serbian, so he's like a freaking. He's always like he's that guy on the basketball court, Boyle, that used to play like he would never call the foul. Like you could hack him, he would never call the foul. He would just retaliate 2 times, 3 times over down the next time down the court. Like
my man,
this dude is like they're jumping on his back and they're riding him to the basket. He doesn't say anything. He just gets this like look on his face and then just steamrolls somebody on the other end of the court. Might throw the owner back down into a seat. You don't. It doesn't. Give me my ball, boy.
He's got scratches all over his body last night. I mean, he was beat up, but he was going for it. And
I love it, Kristen. That was one of the best call outs I've ever seen. Just like way out of left field, and you effing nailed it because it looks like he gets in a fight with a house cat. Like he must be like the softest, most hard, just like, oh, where's the call? I didn't get the foul. Get out of here, man. I don't. Yeah. But seriously, I can't really talk noise about him because like I'm all hot and bothered because like Joker is my dog.
He's so good, man.
Dude, so good. It's like watching It's like, I mean, I will keep with the scratches. It's like watching fucking Cats on Broadway. You have no idea why you're watching it, and you're still stunned. And you're just like, this is the most athletically unathletic man just dropping 25, 12, and 16.
Oh, did you see what he had last night?
Every night. Yeah,
His stats
he
last
dropped
night?
50 and lost.
53 and 11. He's averaging 39, 14, and 10 in the series.
Yeah.
Just
and it looks like he's
crazy
got
stats.
cement in his Nikes.
Yeah, he is moving
Yes.
slow.
He is.
But dude's getting it in.
It
He's
looks like
filling
he's
it up.
made of cement. I mean, he doesn't. He just takes it.
Lokic.
And what I
Just
actually,
Dude, his Euro step is from Germany to Portugal. I mean, that shit is weird.
well, he's also. I think what's just refreshing is that he's one that just doesn't complain. Right now, everyone in NBA just complains every time they get touched. That's not a foul. It's not a foul. Like it's just.
Yeah,
it's,
that
it's
foul. Crying
so.
for fouls.
Are you talking about
It's
LeBron?
getting so old. All of them.
Everybody.
They all do it. And so for him,
replay that. Replay. It's getting.
Yeah.
It's getting tired. I'm like, give me a freaking break.
that's what's nice about him. He just takes
I mean,
it.
coming from somebody that didn't really play basketball very well and at a high level for very long in his life, like when you fouled somebody, don't like the camera's not gonna lie, like you touched him, like you swatted him.
I love the take that the foul. And they're like, no way. It's like slammed him with his body and then raked his arm. And they were like, no way, no chance. Review that. And it's like, give me a break. I love the TNT guys, Van Gundy and Mark Jackson and Breen.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are the ones that just call them like they see him. Like Van Gundy will be like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, I feel like he would just absolutely say that if they weren't on ABC.
He's a dog.
Because Mark Jackson's over there just laughing his ass off because Mark Jackson's like New York City, Rucker Park, like one of the
he played for Gundy.
point gods, like from New York.
Yep.
Like he has seen it all, talked all the trash. He's there, nothing could phase that guy. So when he just gets to laughing, he's like, this is not the basketball that I grew up playing. You know, we talked about rivalries earlier in the Knicks and the Pacers and the Pistons and all these guys. Like you go and watch these documentaries of these games in the 80s and all this kind of stuff. And Dr. J was talking about these other guys. He was like, this guy's doing great. He's one of the top, this player and that player. He's like, but he couldn't play. He couldn't have played when I played. You know, the guys were bigger back then. Like there's guys benching 500 pounds, like that played in the NBA. Like these dudes were real big and they were real mean and they played like that. There was a hockey element to these goons that played that would, you know,
just YouTube it. Just YouTube fouls in the 80s versus fouls in the 90s. Somebody like blows in somebody's ear and they're getting teched up and thrown out of the game. And then you got Larry Bird cold cocking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the height of the Celtics.
Yeah.
He got a personal foul. He hit the man in the face. He got a personal foul.
It was personal.
Yards. He was a 15-yarder in basketball.
You hit somebody in the face. It's like 5 games, $36,000 per game times 9. Pay all of the janitors' salaries for the next 6 months. I mean, it's like ridiculous. Like it's crazy. You can't even equate to the same thing. And again, because he's also my dog and going retro basketball. Like if Jordan plays at his peak in the NBA today, he may be on the line 40 times in a game. He may score 40
from the line. Right. But there's and we can talk about MJ maybe a little bit later, but one of the things, the defensive things that I think would be interesting is that they did have the defensive rules that they have now. You couldn't play zone back then. You could essentially stand everybody in one corner of the fucking court and let MJ go one-on-one against these guys. So there were some differences that from era to era, but the physicality aspect is not negotiable. It was absolutely a different game back then. And, you know, the Denver Nuggets Suns series seems to be the closest we've got right now to
mix.
One of those older.
I don't think they're
series
smoking
mixing
at
it up.
halftime though, like they were in the 80s.
Probably not cranking. They're probably not shotgunning bush lights and smoking cigarettes at halftime. But I mean, at the same
Nobody's
time,
taking off either.
The product on the field the product on the court is a little bit more similar to what I feel like what we would see. But we're gonna jump off here. But before we go, I wanted to get some predictions here. We got some betting gurus, the professor, my guy K Boyle. We're kind of whittling it down. We're in what I'll call the Elite Eight of the NBA playoffs. Who do you got? Who do you think comes out of the West? Who do you think comes out of the East?
Phoenix, Boston.
Phoenix, Boston. Is that what your gut says? Is that what the peanut says?
Dude, it's what the gut says. I've never betted with the peanut. Professor knows that after sweating multiple bets out with me. There is no rhyme or reason. There's no stat collection. It's just like, you know what? This line doesn't make sense. I'm hammering it.
Right. There's something about it. I'm all over it. That makes sense.
And I think if Booker keeps cooking like he's cooking, like I don't know anybody that's going to stop them, especially when Durant's in the wings, just like waiting to drop 30 himself. I mean, you're talking about a game in which somebody dropped 39 and 36. I think the professor's going to have to check that, but like, I mean, you're talking about two elite electric people dropping almost 40 pieces each, and it wasn't even hard.
Right.
They just went out and did it.
Well, right, because they had to, right? Paul goes out in that game with the groin. They go, okay, here's the game now. We're going to have to step it up.
Which is the best thing for the Phoenix
Let's be honest.
Suns.
He's coming back, right?
When I talk about the Phoenix Suns, and we've talked about this before, on paper, the Phoenix Suns shouldn't have a problem with anybody. They should absolutely mollywop everybody from here to Kingdom Come. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are two of the top 5 players in the game scoring-wise right now. And you've got DeAndre Ayton, who is really playing a lot better under the basket. And he is playing when he gets his mind right and he gets his attitude right about how he wants to play. He's a problem. And you've got some role players that fill in and do some stuff. Now, Denver has some guys too. Let's not discount Jamal Murray, and we obviously can't discount Jokic, but yeah, but you never know what that cat's going to do. He might claw his eye out, and he might not be able to play the next time.
And you got a couple more Band-Aids for sure.
But on paper, the Suns should. There's no reason why the Suns shouldn't get there. And Chris Paul was never really one of the reasons why I thought that.
No, he needs to stick to State Farm commercials. That's what he does best at this point in time.
Yeah, he's crushing the long shorts commercials. Those are fun. But all right, Tweeter, what you got? Who you got coming out of the East and the West?
Boston. I got to go with Boston. To be honest, though, I think if Jimmy Butler stays healthy, I would pick the Heat. If Jimmy Butler stays healthy for the rest of the games, I'm taking the Heat. I fucking love Jimmy Butler, and honestly, watching him just sort of will wins. I mean, they're up 3-1 now, right? Yeah, they're up 3-1. They're about to go to the Eastern Conference Championship again. I don't know how they do it, but
I'll tell you exactly how they do it when it's my turn.
Spoelstra. I think Denver takes Phoenix, only going with the trends of home teams winning. It's 2-2 back and forth. And honestly, if Chris Paul comes back, I mean, you're not gonna lie, Booker and Durant, though, putting up 47 and 39 in the same game is gonna be really tough to do that again. And
he did the stat check. It was 47. I was way off, but still elite.
That's what I'm saying. But they combined for 86 points to get, combined, and they're putting up other stats too. That whole series is just stats. But Phoenix has got a solid squad, but offensively, Denver, you got Michael Porter as your third option. You got Aaron Gordon on the squad who can put up some points. I mean, there's a
reason why they have the best record in the West.
Yeah, it's tough to bet against them. Honestly, I think if Golden State can beat LA, then I think Golden State goes. But ironically enough, I think Golden State could definitely lose this series. But LA is just too old, I feel like, with their stars.
See, I gotta disagree with you. I think that the Warriors don't have a shot in hell. I think that if they could win this series, but if they got to go play Jokic or they got to go play Durant and Booker, can't happen.
I don't know, man. You got two guys that can light up 10 threes each in the same game.
I've seen 3 guys hit 6 threes in the same game and lose. So I'm not really concerned about stuff like that. I've also seen Jokic score 53 and lose. So I'm not. It takes more than one guy, and it takes more than one facet of the game. But the Lakers are built to beat the Nuggets more so than the Warriors are. Jokic is a problem. He is a 12-story building that has old man finesse, and he's got fancy feet work. This dude fills it up, and he knocks down free throws, and he passes, and he gets his other guys involved. Jokic is a problem. Anthony Davis is the only big man in the West, in my opinion, that's got the tater salad to show up and have something to say about that. Because Jokic would have to deal with Anthony Davis on the defensive end. Looney's not a problem on the offensive end. Draymond Green, like Charles Barkley says, is too little. He's too little. Okay.
I love it.
And DeAndre Ayton is,
Who's a better watch than Charles Barkley?
not very many. Charles Barkley and Shaq on the other side of the table rival StacheCast for sure. But Ernie Johnson poking the bear and just letting him go. When they started busting on Derek White's hairline
today.
Dude, he's a fucking mess, dude. He's always
Ernie.
One. Ernie's,
I love them.
Do you ever watch
the best.
Shout out to their podcast, The Steam Room. If you don't listen to The Steam Room with Charles and Ernie, you need to go give that a listen. Charles is a funny guy to listen to.
Sponsor us.
Ernie.
Yeah. Kristen, who you got? What's your heart say? Who's winning? Who's winning the East? Who's winning the West?
I'm gonna say Boston.
Yeah, I knew you're a Boston girl.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Boston. I would like to see them to win it all, honestly. And then from the West, from the West, I would say
Fenway Park.
I'm going with Lakers.
Lakers, Celtics. That would be sick.
That'd
Love
be
that.
awesome.
I love that. I think
for my grandfather. Yeah.
Heard it first. The 80s called. They want their playoff championship back.
Let's go. Magic versus Bird 8.0. Let's
go. Rotary phone.
Yeah. All right. Alex, what about you, big dog?
The Warriors don't lose. And in the Steph Curry era have never lost in the Western Conference Finals.
Reigning champs.
They are the reigning champs. They managed to get it done. Their coach is unbelievable. I'm waiting for a big fat butt. Nope.
I like big butts.
And I cannot lie.
And they got blown out by 20 twice. All right, great. Awesome.
Totally fine. Doesn't matter. They can come back and each score 10 threes each, like we've talked about before. It's totally possible. They have a smaller lineup. That's the way.
Fun stat. Fun stat for you. First team to win 2 games in a row in a series. 96% of the time they win the series. So always looking for that elusive second win in a row. So the Lakers are going to try to get it from the Warriors. But like I said earlier, Steve Kerr won 5 of 6 of the last series. He was down 2-1.
I don't trust Anthony Davis at all. LeBron is great. Obviously, he's old. He can will a team anywhere he wants, but you got to beat the Warriors if you want to win the championship. I think the Warriors come out of the West, and in the East, I think the process is over. I think it's time for Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia takes down Boston, and it's a 7-game series with Miami. I think Philadelphia goes and plays against the Warriors. I think their big man, Joel Embiid.
Something about that Philly.
The best player in the league this year.
You're keeping that Philly thing going.
I don't know why. What Eagles, happens? It's like osmosis or something.
The Philadelphia Phillies, and now we got the Philadelphia.
You just gotta. If only the Flyers were remotely relevant, but they're not. Is
Johnny around the corner? We just can't see him. Okay.
I did hear a woo when I said that, though.
I was making sure she didn't have a water gun to your head. Squirt you in the ear hole if you didn't say the right.
My better half is over here just filling up this left ear hole saying, ooh, Alex, yes, Warriors. So she's the second best better in our household. So let's just keep that stat. And so we're on opposite sides of this one. Will we both be on the same team for Steph 5 and Clay 4 threes tonight? Absolutely. But that happens and they lose.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Sounds
I won't be watching.
Everybody, we'll keep an eye on that bet in that game. I think that I like the Miami Heat out of the East. I don't think they're the best team. I think that, but they play the best basketball right now. They have more offensive possessions where I say good possession. Like that was a good shot. They have more defensive possessions where I go, wow, that guy is a superstar and he's he's first on the floor. And I feel like that, along with the fact that they're a little bit hot right now, makes me pull for them a little bit. So I'm pulling for the Heat to come out of the East.
I got a stat for you on the Heat. No 8 seed has ever won the NBA championship, and they are the 8th seed.
There you go. Got to happen sometime.
There it is.
Was the internet really telling you all this?
Internet, it's all
just
it's
right
all
from the
right there.
brain.
It's all right there.
Just is it just on the line out there? Just like these facts are just dripping out there?
Yeah, just right there. Just right
That
there
works.
for the
I
taking.
wonder if any's ever
Um,
made the championship. That'd be good to know.
We'll have to do a little research on that, Alex. While I'm saying the second part about the West, you look that up. I think that the Nuggets are the team to beat out of the West. I feel like I feel like it's their time. I feel like they got close in 2020, but they have some help. I think the pieces that they have in what's the guy that's coming off of the Porter Jr. Is it Porter Jr.?
Porter Jr.
That guy with like Joe said with Aaron Gordon and the way they can play defense and the way they can match those guys up on some guys, they can pose a problem that they're doing with the Suns. But I think it's I'm pulling for a Nuggets Heat final. I think that would be fun, but I realistically think that the Celtics are the team to get there. But I'm pulling for the Heat. So great show, guys.
1999.
1999 was the last time.
Any idea who it was? In 99, it was a 50-game shortened season, but this 8 seed from the East made it to the NBA championship.
Nets?
Who was it?
No, they weren't the 8 seed.
Close.
Was it the Knicks?
It was the Knicks in 99. They made it to the finals.
Oh, there you go.
But they lost.
Didn't remember
But
that at
they
all.
lost. Well, you'll have that on the big jobs, but good research right there, Alex. You guys, great show tonight. Had a blast. We'll look forward to next time. We'll talk about some more stuff. We'll get JJ on the show. We'll do some shower thoughts, and we'll keep track with these bets with Boyle. Boyle, you going to stick with us on the next one, bud?
Hell yeah.
What else I got to do?
That's quite a commitment.
Come
Both
back
arms up.
every week.
Both arms up. That's the commitment. We'll get to it next time. But until then, you guys, thank you for being here. We know you got a lot of choices. So thank you for joining StacheCast. Follow us on all the social media platforms at Nashville Stash. And be sure to follow us. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We'll see you guys later. Be well. Be good. We love you, big Stash.
On your UFO. I've been on some other shit, just lost my fucking brother shit. Now I think it's time to beam myself back to the mothership. J-Rock is my co-pilot, that's the one that I hover with. Love the way we stubborn like we rule our own government. We come through so thunderous like